Come join us for an exclusive tour of Alton Towers theme park. We'll get to see places that the general public can't access, like views from the top of the towers, and a gardens experience that the park gifted to us. It's going to be an amazing experience. Hey Cluckers, welcome back to the channel. We've been invited today by Alton Towers to check out a brand new VIP experience through the gardens. So we're going to check it out today. I don't know what I'm going to be able to bring you. Might be some footage, maybe some pictures. We'll talk about it. We'll work out if it's worth doing, whether it's worth paying for. So yeah, let's go over to the meeting point. So we arrived at the meeting point in front of the towers. There we got a map, met our tour guides and got headsets. Now we'll wear these headsets for the whole experience so we can hear all the important info our guide Stephen shares today.
There's going to be uneven steps, so you're going to hear me constantly saying watch your step, hold on to the handrail. Died in 1988, was responsible for the restoration of the gardens to their former splendour. Note the inscription, he made the desert smile again. So what exactly does that mean? What is that all about? I should say it's a replica of the Karagic monument of Lysicrates, which dated back to 344 BC in ancient Greece. Now, of course, this isn't thousands of years old. This was erected in 1830. It was made out of cast iron in 1829 at the Britannia.
Already being introduced to details I've never noticed before in this park, and I've walked through the gardens several times.
Livestock, horses had to be fed and they had to be watered, and this was where they would be led. So the guidebook was totally incorrect.
Now we've been blessed with a super beautiful day today, to be fair, and I do understand why they don't run this tour all year round.
So welcome to the Dutch Garden. This was designed by William Eames, and why is it called the Dutch Garden? It's called the Dutch Garden because it's got Dutch horticultural influences. It's symmetrical in shape, but it's very much got an English country garden feel, hence the roses. I don't know if you can, but I can actually smell the rosy from here. Now the statues, which you can see, these four, are meant to represent the four known continents at the time. So we've got Europe, Africa, America, Asia. Now America could be North America or South America. We've got the headdress there and the young man holding the lizard. This one is particularly interesting. This is Africa. Now what looks like a hunting horn probably more pineapple when I have it closer and look. The conservatories, by the way, are made of Hollington sandstone, white sandstone. Now, as you can see, it's not exactly white, it's more of a cream colour. Well, that's pure through age. It cost about 13,000 to... About 1 million. Living up pool here with the water lilies. It was originally a heated pool. As you can see, we've got lots of tropical plants growing here. And at the time of the Earls of Shrewsbury, they would obviously recognise this as we see it today. Now, I mentioned bananas. What's that all about? Well, the story goes something like this. It's said that the first bananas were actually grown here in North Staffordshire by the Earl of Shrewsbury. The story goes something like this as well. the Earl decided to send the Duke of Devonshire some bananas, the Duke of Devonshire at Chatsworth House, with instructions on how to eat them. One would hope that he also said that you need to peel them first, but he's supposed to have sent the bananas to the Duke of Devonshire. Now, the Duke of Devonshire said that's absolute nonsense. He said, I was the first person to grow bananas, not the Earl of Shrewsbury. And to this day, they contest that they were the first growing the bananas. So, who's telling the truth, the Duke or the Earl? I'll leave that one with you. So, if we sit this way, we're going to go to a third pavilion, where, as I said, you'll see traces of where conservation work is carried out. This is lovely little pavilion. Some beautiful flowers you might want to photograph. So, but other than that, why am I pointing this out? Well, if you notice this shadow along here, a circular shadow, this was where the scaffolding was set up, because when we were doing the restoration work, obviously scaffolding was needed to actually reach the top. So welcome to the grotto. Looks quite fairy tale like, doesn't it? Well, what exactly is this? Well, this is limestone. It's actually imported from Italy and it's called tufa. Well, what exactly is tufa limestone? Well, it's as follows. It's formed when carbonate minerals precipitate out of water in unheated rivers or lakes. So you notice the beautiful statues and the continuation of the scalloped wall, everyone, as well. You're walking down through the scallop wall, hence the enclosed feeling again. We'll be coming up to the statue in a moment on the right. Be a camera moment. I'll give you the young man and the goat. Look at that goat and look at that young man. He is most bemused. Note as well the fountain, a beautiful. We're heading down that way in a bit. We'll note the fountain of the pagoda in full force today. I'm going to mention about our water source. Everything will be covered on this tour. Everything you would even need to add covered. We're coming up to the drum roll moment in a moment. You're on your right hand side. Please try and contain your excitement. Right, folks, I give you the shell fountain. Small, dainty, very much loved. Bit of a trickle, and we're lucky to have a trickle because we've had one of the dry springs in living memory. But it's much loved. But a lot of people would walk past here and maybe not even give it the time of day. But he or she is the star attraction of this afternoon of the tour. So, note here as well, as I said, the main entrance, the grand entrance would be here with the lions and the shields. There'd be golden gates originally here, so all the guests would come in here and down there.
So did you know that little shell fountain was there? Because I had no idea. Now what I did want to quickly point out is this might not be for everyone, so there are a lot of steps, and quite early on I found myself struggling a little bit in some places, not the fittest human being, so if you're a bigger person or you do struggle with lots of walking, this one might not be for you. There's a lot of steps and lots of uneven ground as well. We did notice that, and try and highlight where I can some of the struggles. They've got to be honest, the guides are really good. They do make you aware of all the issues, and any time you will be struggling with kind of steps, so there's lots of them, so don't worry too much about being struck completely unaware. But yeah, there is a lot. Was a test of a day. I mean, legs do now kill.
To natural rock. Now, in the 1850s, a large black bear resided there. And in one year in particular, 1857, a Mrs. Tompkinson visited Alton Towers. Now, Mrs. Tompkinson could well have been from Cheadle. She could have been from nearby Alton. Well, why do we know that? Why am I making that assumption? Well, Alton Towers had a letter, a report sent by the surgeon of Cheadle saying that the said Mrs. Tompkinson had had her hand badly mauled by the bear, whether she'd tried to pet the bear or maybe got too close to the bear, we don't know. But either way, her arm was mauled. Now, a surgeon is higher than a doctor, so it certainly suggests amputation. Well, there's also a sting to this tale. Sometime afterwards, another letter came to the Earl at Alton Towers, this time a letter asking for payment from a taxidermist for one stuffed black bear. So the black bear was stuffed and mounted in the Alton Towers house for many years to come. Now, where is the bear today? There have been a number of sales at Alton Towers in the past, which you're going to hear all about later. So somewhere out there, either in a museum or another stately home or even in a private house, resides one large stuffed black bear. So we're going to go up the steps now, up to Thompson's Rock and Prospect Tower, and pause briefly there. Referred to as the Gothic Prospect Tower. This area here where it's placed, it's called Thompson's Rock. It's a cast iron structure. The same company, Britannia Foundry and Derby, were responsible for this. So I said it's called Prospect Tower or Gothic Prospect Tower. Well, what does the name mean? Well, the Earl was very fond of this. In fact, he had a miniature version of this building in his house. And this is how he looked at it at the time, the 19th century. We're looking at a south-southwesterly direction. And the Earl would be looking towards his house, surveying his gardens, and he would be surveying his prospects, hence the name Prospect Tower. All he could survey is prospects. Bear in mind, these shrubs wouldn't be as high over 100 years ago. There'd still be lots of flowers and shrubs, but not the growth that we see today. Now, if everybody can see the little cottage in the distance, that is called Swiss Cottage. It was built in 1835, and a harpist, a Welsh harpist named Edward Jarvis resided there. And he used to play on his harp Welsh folk music, very popular with the Earl and his family. And over there is one of the best views across the valley here, and on the other side, beautiful views, wonderful views. And the great irony of Edward Jarvis being there and having such a wonderful view is he couldn't take it in because Edward Jarvis was blind. So it also acquired the name as well as Harper's Cottage, as in the harpist. Now, we're going to go down some steps in a moment, and yes, it's going to be one of those moments, watch your step, there's going to be one or two tree roots sticking up. So I've mentioned buildings that have been preserved, buildings like the big Grand Conservatory that have been conserved, but what about buildings and heritage that has been lost? Well, you're going to come face to face with some Alton Towers lost heritage. So if you just watch your step. The colours are obviously original colours, so the Earls would recognise the colours of this pagoda. So it is Bactri's original colours. The lake that it's in is actually called Dolphin Lake. Now, of course, we've never had a dolphins. Both Apollo and his sisters in Greek mythology are the son and daughters of Zeus, the king of the gods. Now, the Muses are representing tragedy. It's one of the many waterways, one of the many lakes and bodies of water that provide water for our fountains and our pagoda. Gravity powered, as I said, And as you can see, it's somewhat congested with vegetation. Himalayan balsam, of course, as I said, is the main culprit for these areas. So we're just going to walk up to the top here. There's going to be a little bit of a hike. You'll be glad to hear that I'll probably be on mute for a few minutes now. I know you want to know that I'm alive, but you certainly don't want to all hear me breathing as we go up the hill. So just a few moments, we'll be at the top.
What a view. Oh, it's a bit of a walk.
Grade 1 listed garden, and you may wonder how many trees are there in here. Well, that's a two-part question because we're in a conservation area. Nothing can be chopped down here. The animals are all protected. Put clips on with a digital number, and that means they've been recorded on computer. And we called the foss. We're going under an area called the barbecue. So that's called a foss, which is a moat without water. And now, and then we're going to pause at the east entrance of Alton Towers. Welcome to the eastern entrance of Alton Towers. So where the door is was the eastern entrance. You've got the banqueting hall at the back for the spire we'll be going in. Statue at the top. It was built in 1833. Now, the glass windows were designed in the 1980s and then replaced there in the 1990s. Well, where are the original ones? Well, I'll mention that later, but the original ones were sold off.
Now this is the exciting part of the tour. So we're about to enter the actual towers themselves, which is something normal people, without paying to do this tour, can't actually do. Obviously all the gardens you can do yourself, just without the information. We're about to get views nobody can get without paying to do this tour.
The well-known conservatory, and I suppose today you'd call it faded grandeur. But don't think of it that way. Think of what it was like at the height of its prime. This was once decorated, and to give you an idea, people would come down the main queue line, on the main entrance where it sits down the queue line, through that wall there, which is a false wall that we built, and down into here and into the house. Now, originally, there was fine ornaments. There were songbirds in gilded cages. There was crystal chandeliers hanging from the roof. Minton times, which you can see the remains of there. Fit for a princess, and one in particular. In 1832, 13-year-old Princess Victoria, Queen Victoria, in later years, its name became synonymous with empire building and industrialization, visited here in October 1832 to be precise. And this is what she had to say. This is a diary entry for October 1832. Now, after dinner, the ladies would normally retire in this area and the gentlemen would go and play billiards there in the billiard room, maybe smoke a fine cigar. This originally had beautiful panelling and it had bookcases down the bottom there. We'll be going into the grand banqueting hall later. Bear in mind there'd be all plaster here. And don't be deceived by these windows that are all blocked off because this was bathed in light. In the 1920s, it was actually used as a tea room here. And there'd be stained glass windows behind those wooden shutters. And this area will be bathed in light, not the dark place that you see today. So we're going to go up the stairs, just watch your step, and we're going to visit the first of our main rooms.
That's exactly what happened. So the stairs that you see today for health and safety were placed here in the 1980s. We couldn't put them back in the original place because obviously certain areas have deteriorated so much. So this is the first of a room. It's got a wonderful view of the Star Garden here and the Star Fountain. So it's known as the Fountain Rooms. Now it's originally thought that this room was a bedroom. We've got two fireplaces here. We've got a fancy one here, small one at the bottom. You've got some lovely views over here as well. You've got the Boating Lake. And if you notice here, what looks like windows that have been bricked up on either side. Now, there. So as you come out of the fountain room, you've got the Star Garden and you've got the Star Fountain. You've got a wonderful view of the conservatory, everyone. And also, just below, you can, if you see the fancy stained glass window, if you all take a look, that is the music room. So music room to the left, conservatory straight ahead, and the Star Garden and Star Fountain right down at the bottom. So it's a lovely view to take a photograph. Well, when we go to the next tower, you will have a better view because it's got lower battlements. So I just want to draw your attention, everyone, to this original plaster, by the way, which is here. And it's a question that everybody asks at some point or other. And I want to give you a reason why. So that's original plaster. That's original plaster, remains of rather, as we go up the steps. So look at all the graffiti on here. So somebody asked me, since the 1980s, people used to be able to wander here freely, and you're going to see a lot of old signs which date back to the 1980s. Why is it you have to go on a guided tour with us to be able to access the house? Unfortunately, the answer's one word, and it's vandalism. Because of people putting graffiti on there, and it didn't stop there, unfortunately. We had panes of glass that were broken before the chapel was restored, and the banqueting hall. English Heritage took over, Grade 2 listed building. Just like the buildings in the garden, we had to protect the house. And that is why we can only do by tours. I'm sure you can appreciate that if everybody scribbled the name Trev4 Stace on there and such like, that it would make a mockery of restoration and preservation of this wonderful old building. So we're just going to go up the steps here to a first of the towers. Like I said, there's nothing to see from the first tower as such because they're really high, the battlements. I promise you, when you get to the other part, that you will be able to see with ease. We've just got a wide space here. As you can see, it's very Gothic, very castle-like, and that's exactly what the Earls of Shrewsbury wanted to the building to look like some sort of medieval castle. Of course, it's not a castle, it's a house. Well, that's the feeling that they wanted to convey, both him and Augustus Pugin. So we're going to go through there, through the tower, to the next of the rooms. And this house really is a hodgepodge of different periods, because you're going to see certain areas where people have done renovations, and then more renovations, and then more renovations. Every generation seems to have made a mark here one way or another. So we're going to head towards where John is, just behind your head. It's quite a low ceiling area as we go through the door, and it's just a few steps. Now this is really cool, actually. Look at this. Well, the roof. The roof. The tree, the Star Garden, private carving. You've got the HQ line, which was the armory and the picture gallery, Hotlingham building.
beyond that, the rooming one at the Thorpe gallery, and we've got the beautiful gardens here. But over there, but you can also go through here, everyone, down through here to the end. You've got the old stable with the beautiful bay area, and the Weaver Hills in the distance. Now, when we get in the house again in another one of the rooms, I'll explain to you a bit more about the Weaver Hills. Not only do they have historical significance to this area, but also they play a major part in.
It's right behind me. You can see Hex's building here. So it's not part of the actual, tower. It's its own like set building. Really cool. We're at the top. We're at the very top of the towers. Real cool. Oh, my arch rival steps again. Wow. Look at the views here. This is proper cool. Proper cool. It's not a view you get every day, is it, this? That is cool. I guess I just wanted to quickly jump here and say, yes, that really was the Smiler you could hear there in the background. That's how loud it must be over in X sector. So yeah, when you're feeling deafened by the Smiler in the queue line, you can hear it from the top of the towers.
Whenever you see a carved creature head over a waterway, that's called a gargoyle because it gargles and gets rid of the water.
Oh, that's so good. Wow. What is that?
And as you notice, everyone, we've got wonderful carved chimneys as well. Like I said, 189 chimneys and fireplaces were scattered throughout the Alton Towers house. Now we're going to go into some other rooms, of course, and then of course actually in the chapel, which is my chapel and banqueting hall, which is my favourite building. Now the yellow bedroom. Now I draw your attention to this beautiful fireplace. This is one that people didn't manage to get their hands on. This one and the one over there, and it's got a star with an point. It's called a stellate octagram, and it's got spiritual symbolism, so it represents aspects of the divine. Now, my gut feeling is because Eugene was deeply religious, and since he was deeply religious, maybe this was sort of cryptic message, the divinity, divine, spiritualism. Well, this is what Anglicans stars meant to represent. Now, there and here were two large windows. So you can imagine where there's the yellow room. Well, also my good feeling is, as you can see partly today, because these two windows are poorly up, this room would be bathed in sunlight. So where the floor was, or one of the floors. Now, in one of the descriptions, it said probably in here, it give the exact location within this area. I've been here or the room here, room next door, probably here, was the spiral oak staircase, which was led up to an upper floor, which is obviously now gone. So my gut feeling is that it was somewhere around here and it'd lead to the top because you've got a fireplace there. You can see where the floor originally was. Obviously, you've got a lower place fireplace here. So Now, people have asked about this here. Well, what's that all about? Well, I'm not familiar with like when it was used as scarefest and whatnot here. But in the past, it's been used for lots of things here. But English heritage stipulate that you cannot touch the structure of the house. So they can build false walls, they can build false ceilings like this, and they can use metal pipes there, but they cannot touch the integral structure of the house. So even though hex is in operation, hex does not interfere with the structure of the house. Part of the hex ride has been created by Alton Towers, like the room, to make it look like it's part of the house, but it isn't part of the house. So no bricks have been destroyed, nothing's been torn down. Now, as I said to you before, we've got the stables over there, and if you all look through the window there, you can see the Weaver Hills on the top. And I said to you, I promised you that I'd explain in more detail why it's so significant to here. So let me give you the historical side and be able to have a pause here as well with the walkers of Shrewsbury. You might have a little family get together. And this would be an informal dining area, beautifully preserved fireplace. We've got S for Shrewsbury here, on here, which obviously hasn't been destroyed, hasn't been taken away. As I said before, these were all blocked off, probably stained glass windows behind there originally because they'd be looking outside. So all this area would be bathed in light. We've got a door in the corner there where servants would have access to serving meals. You know, the old saying, seen but not heard. So they come in and bring the food. Obviously, don't forget these staircases were put in the 1980s. Originally, there was a glass panelling walkway which led down there. That was removed by Puget. So he decided that should go a glass walkway. And as I said, this was like for informal meals. Now, this is the Dragon Anchoring Hall. Fit for a king?
Not bad.
Beautiful, restored stained glass windows. 27 stained glass windows. The top two tiers meant to represent the families associated with the Talbots by marriage, such as the de Vernables and the de Verdens. Notice the Talbots, the pride of place in the middle, Talbot hounds. Notice the hounds on the coat of arms over the fireplace. Got Minton tiles and Prestia Compla, the Latin inscription underneath the hounds. And right above your heads hung once a crystal chandelier made of crystal and brass. Now, it hasn't been destroyed, but it's actually in the Palace of Westminster, the Houses of Parliament at the moment. And it's unlikely, unfortunately, that we'll ever get it back. But it once hung here. This was the most important and biggest window Puget ever had commissioned for a private owner outside the Houses of Westminster.
So, as you've probably seen there, we've done the garden and house tour. Bit of feedback, so it's a £10 experience. I know, like I say, I'd gifted here, free experience for us. Would have paid £10 for it. I actually would. You know what, the garden section, you can walk around the garden yourself. Yes, there was some really good knowledge. I've tried to kind of put anything where you could hear in for you. I've tried to sum up the other bits you can't. Nowhere near as good, but if you're interested in anything, it's definitely worth going and doing. And like, there are things in that garden you would never notice. I've walked down it plenty of times trying to get to and from the park. During COVID, we came and just did the gardens themselves, without obviously the spiel from them, the history. So he's really interested and it's guided and he's really good. And I guess it all depends on who you're getting, because if you get someone who's telling you everything really well, like he did, Stephen, you're going to love it. Hopefully that's the kind of people you're always going to get, him or someone as knowledgeable. I don't think it work as good with someone not as knowledgeable or funny. So I guess that's the thing. But yeah, definitely worth doing, if not for just the house tour alone. So you're not actually allowed to go into the towers themselves anymore. Years ago you could, but due to kind of, well, vandalism, basically, he says in the video, vandalism, look, they don't let people in anymore without a guide, because, you know what I mean, people destroy it, people have vandalised it, just like they do with Toxicator. So, you know what I mean, nothing's changed there. But yeah, you get to see things you'll have never seen before. You'll get views of the park never seen before, because, I mean, it is incredible views. No access to parts of the park you've never seen. If you've done the scare maze, the attic, you go through areas of that, but without the kind of the scare maze elements. They do take them away when it's not Halloween. I didn't think that she did, so I guess that's me taught. But yeah, deeply fascinating. I'm going to head over to the hotel and grab a drink just to finish the day, to be fair. So if you have enjoyed the video, please like, share, subscribe. Once again, thank you, Alton Towers, for inviting us over today to do the garden house tour. Like I said, if you're interested, £10, get online, book it. Definitely worth doing. It's two and a half hour experience. They did answer questions off script at the end as well, and that was really good. He really knew his stuff. So, you know what I mean? Definitely worth it. Definitely worth doing. Sorry, I did have to catch my breath there. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. We'll catch you again soon.